the desert of the real.
Welcome to the Desert of the Real. I am your host, Ryan Hudson. Joined with me, as always, is your Rogue One co-pilot,
Jason Dietz.
The Desert of the Real is a movie podcast where I force Jason to watch big blockbuster movies he's refused to watch because he didn't think they're worth his time.
True.
We're currently going through the Star Wars saga.
Sadly.
We're two high school teachers, and between the two of us, we teach English, film, philosophy, creativity, and music appreciation classes. We have graduate degrees, and we attempt to use our academic training to dig deeply into movies and push you, the listener, to think critically about your entertainment. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for coming.
Yes.
And just hearing what we have to say. Hopefully it's good.
It is good.
And we do love that you're here and that you make us a part of your time.
Yep.
Means a lot to us.
It does.
If you haven't done so, would you feel free to give us 5 stars or leave a review?
Yep.
Helps out a lot. And
what else would help out a lot is if you told someone that you loved to listen along with you and get them hooked too.
You talking about word of mouth?
Yeah.
Nah. I was joking.
Or you could cyber tell someone.
Making up phrases.
You could cyber tell people through your TikToks and interwebs that you can, listen to us.
Okay, what was the movie we watched today, Dr. Dietz?
Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
I don't think this one is technically a Star Wars story.
Okay.
I think it's just Rogue One. It is the first spin-off. Like, you haven't seen any of these. You haven't seen any Star Wars since the early 2000s.
Yeah, we were talking earlier, and I realized that I haven't seen
the original
the
trilogy.
Star Wars, what I consider Star Wars, since before Ryan was born.
That's crazy.
With the exception of the mangling that was done to Star Wars in 2005, something like that.
Yeah, we will talk about the original trilogy
which is why
soon.
Which I cut out of last week.
This movie, you knew nothing about Rogue One.
I knew nothing about Rogue One.
Which is exciting because you've lived through, I don't know, like movie trailers were such a big thing, and the conversation online is now a big part of the movie-going experience, seeing what people say. Or
for some people, yeah.
Right.
Other people prefer to form their own opinions.
Right, but, it's also, we've turned into this culture of, I want to turn to my YouTuber to have a review for me, almost.
Right.
Like,
which is scary to me.
Yeah, there's a channel, which admittedly I love. It's through Screen Rant. It's called Pitch Meetings, where it's a guy pretending to be a producer and a writer, and they're making jokes about the movie, and it's super funny. That's where you'll get, it's super easy, barely an inconvenience. Anyway, but I've seen comments on many videos of watching these videos so I don't have to watch the movie, which is so backwards to me.
I agree. In fact, I would say, if I had my druthers, that no one would look at any of that until after, even the trailer.
Yeah.
Until after you've seen the movie, because otherwise your impressions and your sense of the film is being impacted, whether you know it or not, by someone else's experience of the movie.
Yeah, and even to this day, there are trailers that give away too much. This movie has interesting trailers because, and we'll get into this in a little bit more detail, a lot of stuff in those trailers were not in the movie.
Oh, cool.
Like, if we watch the teaser trailer right now, you'd be like, that's not in the movie. That's not in the movie. That's different than the movie.
That's good.
Yeah. But it wasn't planned that way. They were literally working on this movie up until the end. Can I share a fun anecdote about how I learned about this movie? It's, okay. This was before I met my wife. Okay?
Sounds like a sitcom.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I served a 2-year service mission for my church you don't see anything. You don't see any.
Right.
You don't really see the news. You don't know anything what's going on. You're just focused on mission stuff. Anyway, so fast forward when this movie came out, I went down with other people in my family. My grandparents lived in a neighboring state. And this is maybe one of the last times we were at my grandma's house because she soon got old and had to move to a retirement home and stuff.
She got old. Just all of a sudden.
Kind of felt that way to some degree, actually.
Yeah.
So some family was at my grandma's house, but I had a wedding to go to, and I met up with other people from the Mish, you know. One of them was a girl I liked. Okay, so
the plot thickens.
Yeah, so we met with my friends and this girl, and we went to a wedding of a mutual friend. Good time. We went to the wrong wedding at first. Like, we pulled in, got out, saw no one we knew, got back in the car, and went down down the road to the actual reception.
That's funny.
Anyway, had a good time. A lot of people we knew there. Dropped off all the friends, so it was just me and the girl, okay? I don't even know if people in my family know this, because it doesn't.
They will now.
They will now because it doesn't matter and stuff. And then it was just me and this girl for the first time alone ever, and we may or may not have made out for a while.
Oh, wow.
This is
first time?
First time.
Dang, you're a fast mover.
I'm just saying this is what happened. Anyway. But then I just remember, like, anyway, good night. I go to my grandma's house. I remember, like, my mom and brother are watching, like, Apollo 13. And I just get on my phone and, like, hey, there's a Star Wars movie coming out about the Death Star plans. And that's, like, the night and how I found out about Rogue One.
Cool.
Randomly. That's also where I also... In that, I don't know, on that internet scroll through is where I learned about the Mandela effect through the Bernstein Bears thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's this?
The Mandela effect's super cool.
Mandela effect and Rogue One in that internet search.
Wow.
The
what
night
a day.
of that wedding
Massive
date.
make-out session.
Now it's like, anyway, that's...
Cool.
I mean,
I learned about Rogue One. I
it.
didn't really came in blind.
Here's the thing. This is the second Disney Star Wars movie.
Okay.
Disney's on a roll right now. The Force Awakens is super successful. Despite what some people think of it now, it's one of the highest grossing films of all time. And then Rogue One comes out. It's like a huge 1-2 punch. Disney, untouchable, Star Wars forever, baby.
Yeah.
There were many people, and still to this day, would consider this one of the best Star Wars movies ever.
Wow.
You're not a big fan. You're a wild card. You like Solo more than this one,
I did.
which most people will not agree with.
I don't care.
I know you don't care. I'm just saying. But Rogue One was... And I remember thinking that I was, at the time, when the movie was finally out, like a year later, I was working on my college campus, and I remember talking about it with coworkers, and like one of the new Harry Potter movies came out, and I'm like, you know what? I'd rather go see Rogue One a second time than see the new Harry Potter movie. So that's like, yeah.
Because it's basically the same as the last Harry Potter movie.
Well, we might do Harry Potter...
Really,
where we would start with those Fantastic Beasts movies, which
I'm good.
They're their own things.
Anyway, so we're talking about Rogue One,
right? And I'm trying to say
future pain and suffering.
So, at least for me, I was like, "Is this the best Star Wars ever?"
Really?
And then, like I was talking about earlier about those YouTubers and getting into like, what are the naysayers saying? Think, oh, wait a second, maybe I kind of agree with some of these things. Then I was like, oh, wait, this one's actually a bad one. But then, a little TV show called Andor came out. Tony Gilroy, who took over directing, is handling the mantle of Andor. He's a self-proclaimed doesn't like Star Wars. He's not a Star Wars fan.
Oh.
So he's like, I'm taking this franchise and whatever I want, and I don't care about all this legacy, whatever. Which is good because compared to like Dave Filoni, just member berries the whole time. Anyway,
I don't know what that means or is. Or
actually, we could talk
or...
about member berries in this movie because that's maybe one of the flaws. But Andor recontextualized this movie for me. And I'm like, oh, actually, I really like this one again. Because Cassian Andor, he's,
is that the pilot guy?
Yeah, he's
the French guy.
Yeah, he's not French. He's Latino.
He's Latino? No way.
Yeah, I think he's from Mexico.
Oh wow. I thought he had a French accent the whole time.
No.
That's crazy. You can cut that.
No, it's funny. I'll keep it in. I'll double it. Anyway, so Andor. I gotta be my high perch. I gotta talk Andor for just a little bit. Because it's the best Star Wars TV show, easy, no guarantee. Because it takes, and this movie does some of it, but Andor like doubles the things I think is really cool. Like in the original trilogy, the Empire is just bad guys. Space Nazis, all evil.
Right.
Andor turns into bureaucracy, which is more realistic and gritty and grounded. You have a little council of Empire people, and they all want to be promoted. You can tell that they want to be the one that gets recognition. Now it like turns into a competition of I can do my job instead of I'm an evil Empire. It's like, I don't like this character, but for some reason their motivation is compelling to watch now. And it's them trying to hunt down like the rebels or whatever. And it's like they're just doing their job as opposed to evil for evil's sake. And this movie does some of that too. Like the bad guy and Tarkin, he's like, this is my accomplishment. This is not yours. You can't take the Death Star. So it's like these are people that want to be promoted. And it just, I think, makes the Empire...
Contextualizes everything.
Because in real life, evil empires aren't mustache-twirling bad guys. They're people trying to get power and hold power. Right. And I love that about this movie, and especially Andor.
If we look at Brazil, for example, which I don't really like, but Brazil is a movie where...
the movie Brazil, okay.
Oh, no, I love Brazil, the country.
Yeah.
No one's in charge anymore. So it's taken what you're talking about to the extreme, where the bureaucracy has become the reality, and no one's in charge. Everyone's just doing their job, and no one's giving orders. It's just this continual mess. So yeah, that would be interesting, actually.
Yeah. So, but like his inciting incident is he gets into a scuffle with some people on a planet and ends up shooting them. It just so happens that there's one guy working in this one office for the Empire. It's like, we can't let this one thing get away. And he just thinks it's his duty to follow up on a murder. And he doesn't realize he's slowly he's the missing link to getting to these rebel people. Because Andor gets recruited by someone trying to fund a rebellion type of thing, and it's so good. Season 2 comes out this year. I hope we get K2SO in the mix. And anyway, not that Game of Thrones is the end all and be all of this is what mature TV should be or should strive to be, but it reminded me of that level of like all these characters, all the politics, all the complexities. Anyway, watch Andor.
It's a pretty good case. It's a pretty good case.
Thank you, Dr. Dietz. But this movie has a similar story to Solo.
Yeah. Where
a lot of it was made, and then in Solo, they were fired. In this movie, it's not officially that they were fired. The director, Gareth Edwards. Yeah. Because apparently he was replaced with a different director who doesn't get credit as director, but like writing credit, Tony Gilroy, who will have a recommendation of the reel for me later on, because he's got a fantastic movie he directed that more people should be aware of. But apparently it just wasn't to the satisfaction of Disney and the test audiences. So Gareth Edward was kind of reshuffled. Someone else was put in charge of reconstructualizing the ending. Like, if you watch the teaser trailer, you're like, wait, they have the plans on the ground and they're running over here. Wait, that guy wasn't over here during that battle. And the entire end Darth Vader scene apparently wasn't even filmed until like the last month before the film came out.
That was my favorite scene.
And I'm talking about that because does that trick people into liking this movie? Maybe not.
I could see if it. Yeah.
But
that was definitely my favorite scene.
Gareth Edward, he directed a movie called Monsters, he's a special effects guy. So this is super, super low budget stuff. Monsters, he was able to take a small budget and either make look bigger and use his ability with like the actual monsters and the setting to make it look more expensive than it literally was.
Cool.
He then, after Monsters, Godzilla, 2014's Godzilla, which Jason just rolled his eyes, but it's a good movie. Why don't you like Godzilla? You haven't seen it.
I haven't.
You haven't.
I think we've had enough Godzilla.
No, we can never have enough Godzilla. You just made another face. Anyway, the 2014 Godzilla is connected to Godzilla King of the Monsters, Godzilla vs. King Kong, Godzilla the Other King, and it's like an art house movie compared to those ones. Because Godzilla's like kind of barely in the movie. It's all like shot in a more cinematic, I don't know, way. The goofy ones were going into the planet.
Right.
Anyway, so this is the example. We talked about this with the Marvel movies. Here is a director who did a successful thing on a small budget. Let's give him a big budget and see if he can do it for us again. So that was from Godzilla to Monsters to Godzilla, and then Godzilla to Rogue One. Here are the keys to the kingdom type of thing. He's only made one other movie, which came out in 2023, The Creator, which is about like robots and androids and people. I know people do not like that movie. I don't think it's possible to deny that movie looks incredible. The way the robots look and the way like the special effects look, it looks insane. I think in competition with some of the best looking science fiction we've ever had, because he knows how to make things look good. Kind of like this movie, like the last battle with the AT-ATs and stuff. It's like that, but on Earth and robots. Anyway.
Okay, I've added 2 movies to my watch list now.
So, Star Wars, Rogue One, massive reshoots.
So this movie's a fan service movie.
Well, here's the thing. I was listening to a podcast. The other guy on this credited for screenwriting, Chris Weitz. I was listening to a podcast of him talking about this movie, and he wrote a draft that would eventually be recut up and reused. And he'll be like, "Oh, this was my idea originally. It eventually be turned into this type of thing." And he said on this podcast, like, Star Wars is so huge. There are so many fingers in the pie that it's almost impossible to have a solo vision when it's Star Wars. Like, a lot of people have to sign the checks type of thing,
right,
or have to approve it. Anyway.
Unless you're George Lucas.
Unless you're George Lucas. And apparently George Lucas has an open door policy to come in and direct whatever he wants. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of fun, I thought. Stars, Rogue One.
Rogue One.
You didn't like it as much.
I didn't not like it.
I mean,
just didn't like it as much as Solo. Kind of boring, actually. And a lot of that stemmed from the failure of the film, I think, for me anyway, to make me care about the characters. The only characters I really cared about was the blind guy, whatever his name was.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote Chirrut, something like that. But all of the main characters, I just didn't really give a crap what happened to them, which is a death knell for me in watching a movie.
Actually, that was what ruined the movie for me for a while. It's Red Letter Media. I saw their video on this one back in the day, and they were like, who are these characters? Do you even know their names? Yeah. And I'm like, oh wait, I don't love names. And they compare to like Han Solo doing something
Right.
in the originals compared to a character doing something similar here.
Right.
And it's like, oh, we just don't care as much.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I think maybe that's true.
Well, for me, that was 100% true. And it was especially hard coming off of Solo, where I cared a great deal about Han, about Chewbacca, about whoever, Woody Harrelson's character, whatever his name was. Oh, I don't know his name, so I guess I didn't care that much.
Beckett, now you
Beckett,
do remember. Now you
yeah.
do care again.
So that was a difficult thing for me. On the other hand, this is a much better Star Wars 3.5 than Solo ever could have been.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I'm being honest, I think that this movie is a necessary piece of Star Wars.
Yeah. Because it's one sentence in the opening crawl that turned into a full movie. Like the Death Star plans were stolen, you know?
Right. I think it's very important. And there's a couple of lines in A New Hope, like Mon Moth, is that her
Mon
name?
Mothma.
Mon Moth
Hold on.
says a lot of people died for these plans. And then we've got the R2-D2 like projecting Princess Leia.
Yeah.
That contextualizes all of that. It's
Yeah.
not, for me, it was not like Solo in that respect. There wasn't a whole bunch of, oh, here's where this happened and there's where this happened. It felt much more organic
Yeah.
in that respect. So
See, and that's why, like, Mon Mothma's a good example, because she's a small actress that got a small role in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and then aged up, appropriately for like, oh, we can use you for these things now.
Right.
You're the same character, older, because now we're in between the movies.
Yeah.
And she's also, the actress and character still is also in Andor. And it's like, might sound boring, but I found it so engaging, where she's just trying to get money to fund the rebellion,
Right.
and has to organize these fancy parties at her apartment to try to talk to one person to try to get funding, and her dumb husband invites all her Senate opponents because he just doesn't care about. Anyway, Andor's so good. But it's like, you don't know what Mon Mothma's been through. She's been trying to fund a rebellion.
Yeah.
And you get a little bit of that here.
Yeah.
I love how, especially in just this movie, they're a rebellion, sure, but we have to make sure everyone agrees on this plan.
Right.
It makes it once again just more
Right.
realistic
Yeah.
and grounded.
That scene
in a
was
very
really
cool way.
compelling.
Yeah.
Because in like the original 3, the rebellion is presented in a similar vein
Yeah.
as the Empire.
Yeah.
Like everybody is together, we're all agreeing, this is what we're doing. There's no really hint of any opposing ideas in A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back. So that was so this movie has some really compelling stuff. I just didn't really care at all about the characters.
Yeah,
So-
that's 100% fair. In fact, from the trailers that we've seen, because Forrest Whitaker's in this movie, Academy Award-winning Forrest Whitaker, and he's barely in this movie. And there's a couple of the trailers that have different versions of scenes. Like, oh, was he supposed to be in this more? And we get the impression we would have gotten more Forrest Whitaker raising Jyn Erso and stuff.
So that was one of my complaints.
Yeah.
Like, his death is absolutely moronic. That is
Right.
the stupidest death I've probably ever seen in a movie.
Because
There's no reason whatsoever for him to die.
I agree. 'Cause
Oh my gosh.
He obviously needs to die before A New Hope because he's not in. He's
Right,
not a character.
but-
But he could have gone in. The
Right, he
ship
just
with
walked
them
with
and
them
died
into
with
the
everyone
ship.
else.
That was so stupid.
I agree, because he's a cool comparison, or maybe a comparison you could make is like, how do you rebel the right way? And think of like Martin Luther King Jr. versus
Right.
Malcolm X.
Right.
His character is like the Malcolm X. Like, no, we gotta be violent and we gotta push back.
So, other things I just absolutely love James Earl Jones. So,
Yeah.
I was like, I know that voice, and I looked it up, and then I saw there's people complaining about why didn't whoever the other guy is,
Oh.
who's the Anakin Skywalker guy.
Leading up to like the premiere, it's like, is Hayden Christensen in this?
Hayden Christensen.
And you see him in the back to tank where you see it, and it's like, is that Hayden Christensen? Is that like literally the day of like, is he in this? We don't know.
Yeah.
But
I didn't. I love James Earl Jones, so I was. That was a really cool moment when I correctly identified his voice. I'm like, yeah, bad.
Did you like?
Because he's never a bad guy. He's always the good guy or the fatherly figure that lifts or strengthens, and so it's fun that he's cast as the ultimate bad guy. I think Darth Vader is one of the top bad guys of all film, and so that's really kind of cool. He
has the dad joke when he's like, "Do not choke on your aspirations."
Oh yeah,
I was like, okay,
Yep. Other stuff I really liked, it's kind of par for the course, but it's very visually appealing. It's visually very impressive. Whatever the thing is that the Death Star does, like that explosion looks amazing, both from space and on the ground. And like, the aliens all look fantastic. Like I really like it. Also, another thing that I really like is that this film allows its main characters to die.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Not that I want a lot of death in my movies or main characters dying, but I've said it a lot of times. The main problem I have with action movies as a genre is that there's no possible cost to what the action hero is doing because there's another one coming.
It caught a lot of people off guard.
Yeah.
Because people started dying one by one.
That whole chunk, I was very surprised and impressed.
Yeah.
That they allowed the pilot guy, whatever his name was, to die.
Yeah.
They allowed the Cassian to die. They allowed Jin to die. Was surprising, and I actually really appreciated it.
Yeah.
Because that makes it truly a sacrifice to leading into A New Hope.
Right. It makes A New Hope better.
Yeah.
Because now you're like, I've seen some of the sacrifices that led up to this moment.
And it's not just one or two people. It's a massive number of people that died to get those plans out.
Yeah.
Now, going into A New Hope,
you understand that there's weight to the MacGuffin that is R2-D2.
So I liked all of those things a lot. Like this is, I would say, 3.5, 4-star movie for me.
Oh, nice.
It was not bad.
So you did like this movie.
It's just not. I didn't like it as much as Solo.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't say it was a bad movie.
Okay.
I just didn't care about the characters as much.
Which is a fair criticism.
Yeah.
I have a list of things I dislike about this.
Oh, I have a list too. Go ahead.
We'll just bounce off.
Just go.
The opening shot is a tiny, tiny ship in front of these like rings, like Saturn.
Yeah.
And we've never seen that in Star Wars, and it's especially cool like on the big screen.
Yeah.
Like, look at this scene I'm looking at.
Yeah.
I love the 70s hairstyles. Because it has to match the hairstyles in New Hope. Right. So everyone has like these big mustaches, these big comb overs. Yeah. In fact, there's a few things in the end battle above Scarif. They use some alternative or deleted scenes of the pilots from A New Hope.
I thought that was the case because they looked older.
All of a sudden.
Okay. I thought that, but that's actually really cool. They did that.
And it also explains how is it Red 5? Whatever number Luke takes, you see that one explode. It's like, why do we need a Red 5? Because we just lost one. Right. Which is a little detail thingy.
Yeah.
But the use of those guys implementing it. I like that they don't kiss at the end.
Yeah.
Which, it's easy to do. You get two actors on screen and whatever, but they don't. They just hold each other as they die.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that Darth Vader builds his castle on Mustafar. the planet he essentially was born, the lava planet. That's where they go to.
Castle.
So it doesn't look like a castle, I suppose, but where Krennic goes to talk to Darth
that's
Vader.
his house?
That's Darth Vader's castle.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And he built it on Mustafar. So that's not like, that's maybe, I guess, additional knowledge that's not explicitly said, but I think it adds to the subtext of Vader. Like, why would he choose to live there where he got his arms and legs cut off? And,
Yeah.
But, like, you know, he's wallowing in his own pain, maybe.
Right.
Stuff like that. Just subtly adding to Vader's character.
Yeah.
And you know what? This movie, I've played many hours of Star Wars Battlefront. This is like the Battlefront the movie, especially at the end.
Right.
And it's funny how you can have like think of the battle scene in Phantom Menace with the Gungans and the ball things they throw at the droids. It's almost silly in comparison to like the action battle scene in this movie.
Yeah.
You know, but it's the same story. You know, it's all Star Wars.
Yeah.
There's just so many little moments that are like, wow, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
The Star Destroyer is out of batteries or whatever, and then they ram the ship into it, and it all crashes in.
I didn't
Things looked
like
cool.
that much. But
Anyway.
yeah, actually, that's the Star Destroyer ramming thing is not logical.
What? All right.
This little teeny ship is like, no. Nope.
Okay. Sure.
Anyhow, I mean, it did look cool. It was a clever solution to the problem, etc. It was good.
I have a little Easter egg thingy. So, the two guys, the blind, what's his name? His Donnie
Sure.
Yen. He's like Ip Man. He's like an iconic action star.
Oh, is he?
And what's funny is he's blind in this movie, and then in John Wick 4, he's also blind in that movie, and I think people just think he's blind in real life at this point.
Oh.
These two big movies where he just happens to be blind. Anyway, what's his name? Churu and Boz? Or Baze?
Baze, yeah.
They're called the Guardians of the Wills.
Okay.
So, the original title of Star Wars is called The Journal of the Wills.
Oh,
Part 1.
cool.
So now that random word has been recontextualized to be what these guys are. This is what Wikipedia says. The Guardians of the Wills are a faction in the fictional universe of Star Wars. The Guardians are depicted as an organization of ascetics who revere the Force, though unlike the Jedi or the Sith, they do not appear to wield overtly supernatural powers. They are just faithful without evidence. Like it's like the depiction of this movie of someone with faith, essentially. Yeah. It's like they have faith in the Force, and that's and it has like a payoff and everything. Yep. Like he believed he would get to the switch if he trusted what his faith believed. Yeah. I thought that was super cool, especially in this Star Wars movie. And then his friend, who wasn't even a believer, his arc is like he's like, all right, I believe. Like he died a believer in this religion, essentially.
Yeah, I really loved that scene. Yeah, that was so good.
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree. And
it's
cool that it's a random, tiny. No one will know, or few people would know what that word is, and then it's like, oh, now it's just something new.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Okay.
So the Rebel base is large.
Mm-hmm.
It has spaceships flying in and out of it all the time. How on earth can the Empire not figure out where the Rebels are?
What? Because there's a lot of planets. They are on a moon. Like they don't know. It's huge. Like space is huge. I mean.
Okay.
I feel like,
I don't know. I was watching it, and that's a massive group of people and a lot of starships. It seems like somebody somewhere would have been like, huh, I wonder where all of these ships are coming
I think
from.
space is big enough that
Okay.
they could hide. Like, even if you think of the original trilogy, once they leave that, like, Yavin 4, they go to Hoth. It's like they're just somewhere. We don't know where they are. They're just...
Yeah. I guess that's
I
fair.
think it makes sense.
Yeah, I wasn't really a con. I was just watching it and trying to think about that. So the storytelling is really choppy.
It is, yeah.
Like, really choppy until about halfway through.
I think the middle section where they finally see her dad and there's that whole...
Yeah.
That's all super messy, I think.
Yeah. Which I think is, in large part, the reason why we don't end up caring about the characters, because there's no continuity. It's just like, here's this little bit, and then we jump to some other character. Here's a little bit of that, and we jump to another.
A lot of jumping around in this movie.
So that was not a good choice. Peter Cushing and Carrie Fisher are creepy.
Let's talk about that.
Creepy.
This was coming up no matter what. Okay, so first off, I don't know how. I guess I was just... in 2016 when this movie came out, I wasn't thinking about movies the same way.
Yeah.
I literally didn't even notice Peter Cushing.
There's no way.
I didn't. I was
no
like,
way.
what is this? How are they doing it? And then the second time I saw it in theaters, I was like, oh, it's like blatantly obvious what's going on. And but for whatever reason, I never noticed it that first time. I was hoping this was going to come up because I'm interested in your opinion on the ethical debate of bringing back dead actors.
People.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably a part of why it was creepy because, they're both, dead.
Yeah.
But I don't... What are the ethics of it?
Because, like...
That's a good question. In what ways would it not be ethical? Because they didn't consent to being represented in the
no consent.
film.
They're like, who's gonna... Is anyone making money?
Right.
Is the family making money? I kind of doubt it. You know what I mean?
Really?
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. That's a really good question that I don't have an answer to.
There is a movie, a not popular movie. It's called The Congress with Robin Wright. And Robin Wright in the movie plays Robin Wright. And in the movie, she sells her likeness to Hollywood. And so she doesn't have to act anymore, but she's still making movies because in the movie, they're just using her to do whatever they need or want, basically. And I feel like to some degree that might be a real future that we get.
I'm sure.
But like Peter Cushing, I do think it works. I think and they like this is before really deep fakes are a thing, and you can kind of see where it's even gotten better since this movie, like around his mouth, like the skin stretching and stuff, because they had to blueprint in the movie Top Secret. This is a fun fact. He's in Top Secret, and there's a funny gag where he has a magnifying glass up to his eye, and then he pulls the magnifying glass down. His face just looks that way. He's got a really big eye.
Right.
They found that mask, and they used that mask to get a scan of his face to make this digital version. Because this, once again, it's not the technology since this has already like vastly improved and surpassed it. And like his family okayed this.
Cushing's did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But there's some weird legal thing now. Like someone claimed, not his family, but Disney's being sued over using his image. And it's not his family, it's some other thing, copyrights or whatever, which is a new development. I do think it basically works, though. Yeah,
it was just creepy. Or I guess maybe uncanny.
Yep.
Is the better word for that.
Dietz, what's the uncanny valley?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I don't know what it is.
You do too.
I'm just passing to you.
Okay. I mean, our listeners probably know because our listeners are super smart. But
yeah, that's true.
Uncanny valley is the more something looks human, the more accepted as human, and then right at the peak of looking like a perfect human, there's the uncanny valley where it deeps down to being super creepy and definitely not human. And this is built into our minds. Like our subconscious already knows to not trust this thing. Like we have it built into us to be afraid. So think of like R2-D2 does not look like a human.
Right.
C-3PO looks more like a human.
Right.
A cartoon, say Homer Simpson, even more human. And then we get to, I don't know, a Pixar character, more human. Then
Polar Express
is in
the
uncanny because we know something's wrong.
Yeah.
But like Thanos is almost like he doesn't look like a human, but we buy it. Yeah. He's more advanced. But just before, and you can see like whenever there's like a robot or an animatronic of a human, like that's kind of scary for some reason. Yeah. That's in the Uncanny Valley.
That's why like Megan works as a horror movie.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
And I think this movie is like in it, but not all the way down.
I don't know. Cushing less so. But Carrie Fisher was just... Can you work more on that or something? I don't know, because I saw that, I was like, wow, that's not right.
What's frustrating is, if you see the actress who was there, like, with the dots on her face and stuff, it's like, they should have just used her.
Oh, does she look just
She
like
looks
her?
so close to Carrie Fisher. Oh. And a similar thing happens in Mandalorian. I know you're never going to watch it, but Luke Skywalker comes in, and he's younger. And it's the same thing. It's like, something's off with his face. They're making him look young.
Yeah.
And it's, then you see that body double. Like, they should have just used him. He looks like Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we should dismiss it, or is it not ethical, you know?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question.
Because I don't know if it's...
So like,
Carrie Fisher was dead when this movie came out.
Yeah. So, like, if we started releasing new Elvis songs, I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
Because
I guess in order for it to be unethical, someone has to be harmed.
Or what if people are using it for...
Or the memory of someone can be harmed, or
using it for exploitation, I guess.
Yeah, so I saw, which was super creepy also, like an AI Nelson Mandela.
Oh, yeah?
Giving his own history, and it was so creepy. But I think it was being used in that case to disseminate history, to teach people who he was, what he did. So I guess part of what would make it ethical or unethical is, what are you doing it for? Like, what's your purpose for creating this? So who was harmed by having Carrie Fisher in the movie?
Probably no one.
Okay, then it probably passes that question. Who benefited? Disney. So yeah, it's unethical. If Disney does it,
right,
it's almost certainly unethical. So we should sue. We should definitely.
And anyway,
that's a really great question. Other things I didn't care for. I'm over plucky comic relief from droids.
No, this one's a good one because it's not even no. It's different from C-3PO. It's different from L3.
I mean, you're right, but at the same time,
when she shoots the other one, it's like, did you know that wasn't me?
Yeah.
Silence, or like, get another fresh one. There's some good lines.
There are. I don't know.
Do you know who that is?
I have no idea.
That's Alan Tudyk.
I don't know who that is.
Well, if you've seen Firefly,
which I haven't,
you should see Firefly. But he's
you told me I couldn't until I watched all the other whatever it was.
No, you can't watch the movie before Firefly.
I know who this guy is.
He
was in 42. He's the coach that sucks.
He's the racist coach.
Yeah.
He's Wash in Firefly. He says, "I'm a leaf on the wind. See how I floor, or see how I soar." But he's become kind of like the Disney small character guy. Like, he was Wesselton in Frozen. Then he was Weaselton in Zootopia. He was the chicken in Moana. And he was the bird in Aladdin. And
chicken in Moana?
He's become the...
What does he do as a chicken in Moana?
He makes chicken sounds. But
what the heck?
He also has other...
We want to hire you.
He also has other... Obviously, he's in A Knight's Tale. He's the one guy who helps him out. It's called A Lance. Hello. You know, he's been around. He's the robot in iRobot. This is the second time he's been a robot.
Hmm.
Have you seen iRobot with Will Smith?
Yeah, of course.
With the winking.
Yep.
Yeah, that's him. But
Couple more.
I
Oh,
have some negatives too.
Oh, I didn't realize you had negatives.
Okay, I think Andor shooting the guy at the beginning because he can't
Is
climb.
that Cassian?
Yeah,
Okay.
Cassian. The guy's like, I can't climb. My arm's broken. Andor just shoots this guy.
Right.
And I think in this movie, it's like, oh, who's this?
Yeah.
And then I don't think they really follow
They
up.
didn't do anything with that. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Not in this movie. I have a dumb one. It's besides the fact that do we really care about these characters, and the middle part is kind of messy. The shield around a planet,
Right.
even for Star Wars, I think that's pushing it. You know what I mean?
It's physically essentially impossible.
I know, and I remember saying
without a ton of points of
exactly.
Yeah.
It drive me crazy. I said that to a friend right or when the movie came out. Like, what? They've done shields in Star Wars. Like, yeah, but this is around the whole thing. I mean, it's cool for this movie. It works for the movie, but the logistics
for the plot
of
of the movie.
Yeah, like we can't.
Yeah.
Man, that's why the ending is so fun. It's like we can't send the message without opening the door. We can't open the door without getting this.
Yeah.
All of that's great. But I was like, around the whole planet, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you for validating my nitpick.
I agree.
The other thing are member berries. When do member berries become a problem? So,
Member berries are, of course.
in South Park.
I've never seen South Park.
You don't have to. There are these villains that are grapes. And they're called member berries. And it was when like Star Wars the 7 was coming out. So one character was like eating these grapes, and it's like, remember Chewbacca? Remember the Millennium Falcon? Remember Star Wars? Like, yeah, I do remember those things. And then in the show, they slowly become evil. It's like the descent of evilness, like the slow. So those that but now member berries. Things in there just to make you happy that it's in there. You know, it's like, hey, I know that. Hey, I remember that.
Oh, okay.
And that's a buddy of mine. That's like, he thinks this movie is obsolete because it's like, it's just a bunch of things that we recognize because it's things we recognize. An ATST, the ATATs. If you call them ats, you're embarrassing. It's hey.
I've never in my life called them at.
That's randomly the two people Luke sees in the cantina. The I'm wanted men, or we're wanted men. The death sentence on 9 planets. Anyway, there's 2 characters that Luke will bump into in the next movie.
Okay.
That are just in there for fun.
No reason. So is it like a nostalgia berry?
Yeah, like nostalgia. Yeah, that's all it is. Nostalgia berries is probably a better term for it.
Okay. I think a lot of this first 5 movies is that. Like, it's just... Which is why I don't really care for them, because... Like, we talked about this in episode 1, that movie is essentially nothing. Like, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Except for the nostalgia of, you know, the little Luke Skywalker that we never met, or Anakin that we never met.
I will say I would disagree with the prequels, not like leaning into nostalgia, because I think the prequels are so distinctly, like, almost to a fault, their own thing. Like Lucas was just doing. These are the prequels. In fact, there's a line at the beginning of this movie where Krennic lands and he walks up to Mads Mikkelsen. It's like, I'm not here to talk politics. It's like, is that a dig at the prequels? We're not here to talk politics, because a lot of the first
maybe
thing,
I don't. Yeah, it doesn't. I guess I have never noticed it, so I guess it must not bother me.
Well, we might bring it
but
up.
I'm not a part of a fan base.
You're right.
For this
You're
movie,
yeah.
so.
You haven't. Yeah.
So let me ask you the question, Ram.
Okay.
When are member berries too much? When are they just trying to convince us that we like this film?
First off, it's subjective. But I think an easy answer is when it's distracting.
Okay.
Like in the Clash of the Titans remake, which I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but I like it better than the 80s one. Sorry.
Really?
There's like a thing, it's like, what's this? It's like It's the owl from the original movie. It's like, we don't need that. Throw it away. It's like, okay. It's like, that was for a select few people
who watched the 80s version.
Which
was fantastic.
No, it's not. First of all,
awesome. For the 80s.
It's not awesome for the 80s.
My.
We've already had Star Wars at that point, and you're like, oh, Medusa's slowly walking down. Oh no, she's coming. That's not no fighting. Just looking at the guy's face. Medusa's getting closer.
That's what Medusa does.
He's getting closer.
Okay. We're not doing this.
Clash of the Titans series coming next.
We're not doing this.
Here's the thing, because maybe it's just I'm blinded by that I like this movie. I don't care about it in this movie.
Yeah.
But my good friend really cares about it. He's like, it's just a bunch of things that we know that they know that we like.
I can't think. Like, that's a part of Star Wars. Like, how can you have a battle with the Empire without the ships that the Empire has?
I know.
That doesn't make sense to me.
It just boils down to some people might not think this movie was necessary.
Oh.
But you and I agree that
I think that it performs a really important bridge role between the end of whatever Attack of the Sith. What is
Revenge of the Sith?
Is that the third one?
Yeah.
Okay, Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. I
Literally
really appreciated the plot bridge there.
I do. One of the big questions I wanted to run by you is the Darth Vader hallway scene.
I loved it.
Because it's so dang cool.
I loved it.
But is it does it trick people into liking this movie because it's like the last thing we see in the entire movie?
Maybe.
It is so cool. And it wasn't in like it was like a last minute thing basically.
Because I didn't understand why he didn't just be like zoop with the little card and the end. So he must not have known it, I guess.
Everything he does are things we've seen him do in the original movies.
Right.
Pull the guns. He caught a bolt and shot it back at him. A guy's on the ceiling.
And then he cuts him in half. That was a little crazy, but
so and then the door gets stuck, and it's like, help us! Try again. It's all.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's so easy to be so excited about. It's kind of like the Darth Maul fight in Phantom Menace. It's like it's the last thing you see. Did it maybe make you forget all the stuff that?
I loved it.
But I kind of see where some people would be like, it's just there to make you think it's good. Maybe.
So, I think that cinema as a whole needs to adopt a new rule for all films ever made from this point on. I want almost dead speeches to be removed from all film. Like, I'm talking about this person has gotten blown up with a friggin' thing, and their brains are leaking on the deck.
Yeah.
But somehow they live just long enough to say goodbye to their daughter and tell them that they were proud.
Disagree.
Those piss me off.
Disagree.
This movie has like 5 of them. And I'm like, that is the stupidest thing. Knock it off. Quit manipulating my emotions for this, because it does the opposite for me.
Yeah.
It takes away the emotion. Like, if she had come up and like her dad was already dead and she had lost it emotionally, that would have been so much more powerful than her holding her dad whose brains are leaking on the thing while he says goodbye. So I'm begging you, Hollywood, please just stop with the almost dead speeches. Stop it. Chirrut's almost dead speech was pointless. There's nothing that he says there that Baze didn't already know, hadn't already experienced. It just cheapens the death. So knock it off.
No, I disagree.
Why?
Because
you think it's just amazingly pathos bringing.
There are movie things that'll never happen to anyone in real life, but only in movies.
Right.
It's just part of the movie.
Anyhow, we are never, ever, infinity going to agree about that. Almost dead speeches need to go away.
All right.
There was a Galaxy Quest moment in this movie that I liked a lot. Jin
Uh-huh.
gets to the top of the tower of memory chips or whatever that tower was. There's this little aperture at the top that's just going open, close, open, close,
Yeah.
open, close, open, close.
Why is this here?
Right. Then the Galaxy Quest, like, why is this here? There's no possible reason for it. Same thing there. And they didn't do anything with it either, because the next time we see Jin, she's on the other side of it. How did she get to the other side? I don't know.
We saw her climb.
We didn't know.
Okay, you know what that?
So we got that's just moment that made me be like, oh, I love Galaxy Quest, because Galaxy Quest points out all the stupid crap like that in Star Wars.
You've reminded me of something that I think is also kind of silly about this movie. How, like, her dad made this secret, like, flaw. And, you know, sure, I guess, but there's, like, a video I saw years ago, way before this movie came out, because that's been, like, a criticism since Star Wars.
Yeah.
What do you mean? You shoot one missile, the whole thing explodes? And, like this is a Death Star. It's the size of a small moon, you know? There's got to be plenty of flaws. But I just always think of this one sketch where it's like, you know, there was an exhaust vent. Do you know what exhaust vents are for? Like, we need those things. Like, we didn't accommodate for space wizards, okay? It pushes air out. There's no way this should have worked ever. But it's like, I don't think we needed a secret thing. It's pretty much, shoot, here it goes to the center. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know if we needed I don't know.
Maybe.
That's me, like, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The movie's...
But if that's true, then this movie is pointless.
That is true.
There's no point at all to this movie if that...
And I guess at the very least it tells them where the thing is.
Sure.
Star Wars has been spoofed.
Yeah, more than anything, probably.
Which I think helped the success.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, philosophically, there's some interesting stuff. Right at the start, Galen Erso is arguing with Krennic on their planet, and Krennic says you should be a part of bringing peace to the galaxy. Yeah. And Galen says you're confusing peace with terror. Yeah. Which I think is a fantastic line. So a massive question in philosophy is, what is the nature of reality? And so that exchange illustrates one of the schools of thought in terms of reality, that reality is just perspective. So for Krennic, I don't know if he actually believes they're bringing peace or not, but at least on the surface of what he said, what the Empire is doing is bringing order and stability to a chaotic group of planets and aliens and whatever. But if we switch the perspective, we switch reality. And so the entire alliance and Galen and everyone else don't view it that way at all. It's the same event and the same series of events, but that kind of really reinforces forces us to ask the question, is there a reality independent of our perception of it or our interpretation of it? Which is really cool that's here.
Yeah. Tell me if this is too big of a connection. Is that like right before 9/11 where things were relatively peaceful? Sure. But maybe they weren't in reality?
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or
no,
our current...
I know our current...
The last week of politics, we are a week after the inauguration of President Trump.
People have a thing or two to say.
Well, sure. And I actually spent my entire philosophy class today not taking a political stance, but saying, okay, so these are the major things that these executive orders do. Do those alter reality? And we went through each one and said, from this, is this changed? Do laws change reality? So it was a really cool conversation that we had, but it ties in nicely here. Yeah. So we're left with the question of, does our perspective create our reality, or is there a reality that exists independent of our interpretation of it? Which is an open question in philosophy.
Yeah, but it must be true, because every single dystopia book is about that. Like, this is our perfect world. Right. Wait a second, it's not perfect. Yeah. Like The Giver. Yeah. Or Brave New World.
Or any dystopia.
Or any
novel.
dystopia.
It's perfect for someone.
And I also just the ground, like, on a separate note, but like how it's just like, oh, the Empire just needs scientists for this thing. It's like he wasn't an evil guy, but he was forced to go work there. I think, that's once again an interesting way to have it be in Star Wars.
Yeah,
you know
and that's an ethics thing that we can talk about it right now since you brought it up. So what do you think? Is Galen Erso evil?
No, he's not, of course.
But he made the Death Star.
I know, but he was kind of forced to.
So,
hold on.
The Death Star would not exist if Galen hadn't built it.
Yeah, but
He killed his wife and his daughter ran away.
I think. Here's the thing, because not to like discredit some things that happen in real history, but to some degree, he just wanted to do science. I'm trying to think. Like, there's a beautiful movie called The Wind Rises. It's Studio Ghibli, so it's animated. But it's about a Japanese man who just wanted to build airplanes all his life, all about airplanes, because the director in real life, his dad worked in an airplane factory. Yeah. But in the movie The Wind Rises, World War II started, so he's forced to build war airplanes. Yeah. But his entire life is I just want to build these airplanes. I think maybe in this movie, he thought, maybe if I add this flaw, I can
and that's the way the movie excuses it. But the ethical question remains: if your work, if you knowingly contribute to work that is going to result in death, it's like the Manhattan Project, for example. Are those evil people?
Right, because but was that people pushing science, you know?
Right, and so ethically, this is a super interesting movie around the character of Galen. Yeah, because from a number of viewpoints, he is the bad guy.
He's just one of all the Empire.
The bad guy in the Empire.
He's like Oppenheimer, if you think about it.
Yes. But from other ethical schools, he's not. He's just being loyal to his family, or he considers the greater good of putting this flaw into this thing. Yeah. Like if he would have just let Krennic shoot him, the entire universe or galaxy or whatever would be completely different. Yeah. And so we have the ethical question: do I sacrifice myself for the greater good? So that's our utilitarian question that is always there. Should I allow myself to die so that this great evil doesn't happen? And he opts to live for some reason that I didn't actually figure out, because his family's dead or disappeared. Anyhow, be quiet.
No, his family is dead. So what? I think just part of him needs to create.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And is it ethical if you have that need, even when you know it's going to... Like, here's a great real-world example. AI. Yeah. We are actively pursuing AI. Yeah. The logical end of an artificial intelligence is we create sentience.
Is the HAL 2000.
Yeah.
The HAL 3000?
So we are actively... it can be done. Sure, we have now microwaves that we can talk to. And pretty cool. And, we don't have to write our English papers anymore. But the logical end of that is we are going to create sentience. And that sentient is going to be massively more intelligent than we are. And when we have that disparity, like there's a reason we eat cows.
Because they taste delicious.
Because cows taste delicious and they're stupid as heck. We are way smarter than cows. And so we eat them. The distance between the AI and us is going to be exponentially greater than us and cows. So we're creating that. Is that ethical?
I don't think so.
Well...
Can I spoil a season of Westworld for you.
I am never going to watch Westworld.
And
so.
if you want to watch Westworld, I think it's season 3. There's a
Plug your ears.
big giant ball that's a giant computer thing that's controlling all this AI. And it's kind of cool. It's interesting, but it's like it has a plan laid out for everyone. It's like this person's likely to kill themselves in 10 years, or this person. It's like working the system so people end up places or people stay where they are.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that the characters will realize they need to destroy and stuff. But I'm like, what if that's our future?
It is our future.
You know what I mean?
I don't see...
Everything run on an algorithm, including our lives?
I don't see how any other future is possible with the disparity of intellect that is going to exist. But we continue doing it. We continue making it because we want to be able to have Alexa listen to us and play songs that sound like Comfortably Numb.
I told you there was an article that compared the AI race to the space race in the 60s, which is crazy.
That is not... I don't think that's a valid comparison. This is different in scope and in kind. Anyhow.
We read a Ray Bradbury story in my class.
The Velt.
The Velt! Where the house does everything for you. It ties your shoes. Yeah. It cooks your food. It gives you a bath even.
Yeah.
It's just everything's automated. Anyway.
Actually, this quote ties directly into what we're talking about. So Jin at one point says, the rest of you can do all you want, can do what you want. The Alliance, all it's ever brought me is pain. And so even though the Alliance is ostensibly this force for good, on an institutional level, on an individual level, it's bad for Jin. It's brought her pain. Everything that has happened as a result of her relationship with the Alliance is pain. Yeah. And so here again, we go from like, is the reality that the Alliance is the good guys, or is the reality that the Alliance causes pain? And so that's just another moment where we're forced to consider what is reality for us, or what is reality. Because the Alliance, it's doing good things. But we also have that one scene that I mentioned already where Cassian and his group of rebel people are like, we've done terrible things for the Alliance. Or there's another part where Jin says, orders, when you knew they were wrong, you might as well be a stormtrooper. Yeah. And so we have this like this question, these forces, are the ends justifying the means? Or all of that. Those are all philosophical questions. Okay. That this movie does a really good job bringing up, and does not a good job at all addressing or even kind of pushing our critical thinking in that way. So, go ahead. Sorry. That's all. I'm done.
Not to always come back to Andor, but there is
to always come back to Andor.
To always come back to Andor. There is probably the best part in the entire show is this one speech this guy makes, trying to get the rebellion started. Yeah. And someone asks him, what do you sacrifice? So, what is my sacrifice? I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy, to defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise I know I'll never see. So it's like, I'm here because of my situation I don't have control on, so I have to do these things to hopefully make a sunrise I can't see.
Which is perfect. That's a perfect opposite to Galen. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So Galen did not do that. Galen chose to live and make science or whatever, rather than sacrifice what was important to him for the betterment of, the world or the galaxy or whatever. Yeah, that's a really good foil for Galen.
Like Jin's whole thing, she said, what about the Empire standing above us? And she goes, it's not a problem if you don't look up.
That is a non-critical approach to reality, to the world. If you just keep your head down and focus on what you think is going on, that's what's going on. Yeah.
I will say in practice, though, but it's not as easy in real life for some reason.
To just keep your head down?
No, to
be aware?
Not just to be aware, because it's like, but what about this? What about this? What about this? Like, it's easy to, look at everything in a way where it's...
all good, all bad. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This is the moment that we've been preparing critical thinkers for in our classes, in our podcast,
Yeah.
We're at one of those moments.
Yeah,
where
that's a good...
we've got an entire panoply of people with opinions on this event or this series of executive orders that have happened.
Yeah.
Do you listen to all these people and allow them to shape your opinion? Or do you go and read the things and form your own opinion?
Right.
Based on what you know about, our country, about our relationship to other countries, our relationship to our citizens, our relationship to our president, all of that. Yeah. This is a crucial moment for critical thinkers to rise up and make decisions on what has happened and what are you going to do going forward. Because this is a moment where I feel like we can no longer just say, oh, those things are happening over there. They don't really impact me. I'm just going to keep doing my thing.
This movie makes you ask these questions.
Yeah.
When should you disobey in order to do what is right? Or what is the point where action is necessary?
Yep.
That's all questions.
Civil disobedience. When does it become necessary?
Yeah.
Not that we're advocating civil disobedience. Or we're not advocating.
We're advocating to be critical.
We're advocating critical thinking and you making a decision on your own about what you should think and what you should believe.
Yeah.
And what you should do. So this movie does a good job of bringing that in. Not that good of a job of showing the two sides actively, but anyhow. One more thing I thought was cool. This is a religious thing, but in the religion that you and I share, there is a scripture that suggests that evil does not support its own. So evil people will use you as long as it is beneficial for them, and then they're like, screw you, we're done with you.
Leave you in the dust.
Yeah, and we see this multiple times in this movie. We see it with Krennic and what is Peter Cushing's character's name?
Tarkin. Grand Moff Tarkin.
Krennic and Tarkin. Oh, you've served your purpose. Go away. We see it with Darth Vader and Krennic. Actually, they're all with Krennic.
Yeah, literally, they blow up that base so we can't ever be hacked again.
These people, we're done with them. Blow them up. And so it's really interesting, the opposite side of that, the Alliance, almost as soon as they found out that Jyn and Cassian and whoever had gone to do what needed to be done, they almost immediately are like, we have to support these people. We're not going to leave them out there.
That guy even said, the alien guy's like, we can't back out now.
Right, because they're down there doing what needs to be done for the Alliance. And so I thought that was a really good, if we put it in a religious context, a really good example, or a really good, I guess, way to define good and evil. Mm-hmm. Good supports, protects, provides, and evil uses and abandons when the usefulness is over. Yeah. So, and we obviously will continue to see that throughout the original trilogy. That happens all the time. Yeah. Especially when Darth Vader's around. He's just like, you've outlived your usefulness, choke. Yeah. Or whatever.
What's funny is when we'll watch those movies, there's one of the Empire guys who'll slowly be promoted in the background.
Oh, really? Because he's killing and killing.
Watch the Reel. Okay, so I have a recommendation of The Reel.
I forgot I needed
the connection is Tony Gilroy, who took over the directing, and he's also the guy that does Andor. He made a movie that I think is very good. It's called Michael Clayton. Okay. Starring George Clooney. It's kind of like a political thriller. I forget his specific job. He goes in to help legal issues and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's very well made. It's rated R, just so you know. But I feel like that's not a movie people who aren't film people might know, because it came out in 2007.
Cool. My recommendation of The Reel is a movie called Anon, A-N-O-N. It ties in with the reality thing that we were talking about earlier. So it takes place in the future where everyone is chipped, and some force can manipulate your reality based on the chip. And it is a glimpse into what our future is going to look like if we continue allowing people to create AIs that are increasingly intelligent.
Right.
So that would be my recommendation. Anon.
All right. I also have a dessert of the reel.
Oh, I forgot.
My dessert of the reel is that tentacle alien monster Borg gullet eating the thoughts of the guy.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, what are we seeing here?
Also, he said
going on?
he said they tend to go insane after, and then he didn't.
He was for a little while.
He was not.
I guess.
That's
Anyway,
false.
dessert of the reel is the alien eating the thoughts and memories of the guy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that is a good one.
Next week is
the movie we're going to watch for next week is called Calibre. It was made in 2018. I don't think anyone involved in it is famous, but
you've told me about this.
yeah, in terms of ethics, I don't think I've ever seen a movie that is more ethically interesting.
It's kind of like, what should you do? What?
Right. And I'm not going to tell you anything about it.
Yeah, I just know the setup. That's all I know.
Yeah. There is no sex and nudity. There's moderate violence, but it's very localized. Most of this movie is not violent at all.
Whatever. Yeah.
We're just
We're
just gonna watch it.
Yeah.
This is
Calibre.
This is one of my top 25 favorite movies.
It's on Netflix.
It is Netflix. It's on Netflix. It's a Netflix original. So yeah, I absolutely love this movie. It is a 5-star movie for me because I like ethics and I like thinking about ethics.
Next week, we're excited to watch Calibre.
We are.
And then we'll have the original trilogy.
Yeah. Which I don't know what that's even going to look like.
Yeah, because we're not going to add a lot to the conversation, but hopefully we can make us think about different things.
Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah.
Because I can't think of anything in any of the three of them that I don't like. At least the original three, which are apparently no longer available.
We got to bring our philosophy and ethics A game.
And the film studies.
The problem was the film studies.
That's true. It's been done to
so
death.
much. It's like you should probably watch this in a real film studies class because there's just
for sure.
You can
I
see
did
where it changed the industry.
Yeah,
here.
I did, and we watched this in my film class.
Anyway, we love you.
Next week is Calibre.
Next week, Calibre. Think critically.
Think critically.
Yes,
we do love you. Thanks for being with us.
Bye.